billion on education in the United States every year at the federal, the state, and the local level. That's plenty of money. As a matter of fact, spending went up 630% between 1962 and 1980, but the SAT scores went down every single year. And as the President's Commission on Excellence in Education pointed out, if an enemy had done this to us, we would have considered it an act of war. We have a crisis in education, and the only thing that's going to change it is to go back to basic skills. And that's one of the things that we've been doing here at CBN, is to introduce nationwide something called Operation Heads Up with Sing, Spell, Read, and Write, where we can guarantee students the ability to read and write at very, very acceptable levels. Danuta has more on that right now.
Well, Pat, in Virginia, a full 35% of the state's inmate population is illiterate. And in light of Governor Belisle's no read, no release policy in the state's prisons, the illiteracy handicap can spell the difference between freedom and confinement for Virginia's inmates. But there is a program that's working to bring the hope of a new life into the state's jail cells. We'll take a look.
It's a vicious cycle. Each year, thousands of inmates leave our state penitentiaries only to repeat the same crimes and return. Most prisoners released will be back behind bars in less than 3 years. It's called recidivism, and it's a growing problem facing an already overcrowded American penal system.
Well, you see a lot of the same old faces. You really do. Education is one of the criteria that is lacking in a person's life who come in and out of such a facility. And I think by upgrading the educational standards of that person could be the missing link as far as making him a productively constructive individual.
The growing recidivism rate in this country often results from a lack of education. In Virginia alone, an estimated 35% of the state's inmate population is functionally illiterate. That means they possess lower than 6th grade reading capabilities.
If I knew how to read, I'd probably be in college or something right now. In a much better atmosphere, or a much better job than where I'm at, because, you know, my skills only allow me to go but so high.
Not being able to read, these inmates have little hope of escaping the humiliation they've faced their entire lives.
Some people can read real good, and like me, you know, I couldn't read, and it just made me feel bad.
How did you get by?
It was hard. It was really hard.
Well, Charles, did your teachers in school know you couldn't read?
I wouldn't let them know. It was embarrassing.
It's for guys like Charlie that CBN is bringing its Sing, Spell, Read, and Write program to state and local correctional facilities, offering them a second chance at an education.
It was hard getting by in school. It wasn't like this place here, you know, like the sounds, you know, like the bulletin board up there, you know, they just said A, you know, your drop vowels, A, E, I, O, U. They wouldn't give you the sound in school, but here, you know, they give you the sound, you know, you pick up.
Something's missing when a guy can go through school and not be able to read or write. I was, like everybody else, would never believe somebody 20 years old or so couldn't read.
In Virginia, Sing, Spell, Read, and Write was first implemented at the Norfolk City Jail, and the program was so effective there, it is now being taught in the nearby city of Suffolk. There, for 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, you'll find grown men engaged in what might appear to be childish activities.
They are grown men, yes, but they're childish because they've never learned to read and write. So you have to start them just like you would teaching a child to read and write. They've got to start somewhere.
I was embarrassed at first, but I mean, I just looked at it, well, I'd rather be embarrassed right now instead of being embarrassed for the rest of my life.
Proven successful, Sing, Spell, Read, and Write is being considered for possible statewide use, along with Virginia Governor Gerald Belisle's innovative No Read, No Release program.
I don't think it's working. I know it's working. I really do. And you could see the confidence that it actually builds in the particular individuals who participate. From before they entered the program and the after effect.
When I finish, this course, I should be able to read everything or anything. I didn't really believe him, but it turned out to be that way.
When I came in jail, I didn't know how to read. Now I'm walking out as a new person, a newer person.
What have you learned from this class?
Like the beginning, like A, apple, start to the A, like B, ball, like, like the sounds of words.
Now what can you do because of Sing, Spell, Read, and Write?
I can read.
Wow, that opens up a whole new life. It's as though he was in a cave, yes. And suddenly he says, ball, right. I can read. Going to jail here in Virginia could be the best thing for him because he's coming out a whole new person.
Well, that's right. Otherwise, they're condemned on a treadmill. They've got to go back and back and back and back. There's nothing else for them. What can they do? Yeah. They deal drugs, they steal. What else is there?
Yeah, and how?
Prostitution.
This is what really amazes me. How do kids get through 12 grades without knowing how to read? How do you do geography, social studies? How do you read your math book?
Geography. You know those University of Maryland students we surveyed, they didn't even know what states bordered on California. They couldn't tell you where Poland was. They don't know anything. And that's what's so tragic. We are failing our students. And I mean, we're spending huge amounts of money, but it's all this manipulating of people's minds and values.
And just passing them on to the next grade without caring what they know. Exactly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we care. You care. Let me show you what happened. Last June, just 1 year ago, we had one outpost with Operation Heads Up. We went out to Watts in Los Angeles, and then we went to New York and Houston and Chicago and Detroit and Philadelphia, and then we went into the southern cities. And very shortly, stage 2, we had 20,000 students, and we were, you see, in Chicago and Detroit, and we went into Philadelphia, and then Memphis, and then we went in, I believe, Columbia and Atlanta and Birmingham and Jackson, Mississippi, and Houston, Texas, and Tallahassee, Florida. So that was 20,000 students, and then...
And that was 11 cities.
That was 11 cities, and now it's grown. This is stage 3. There are 400 communities in 35 states. We have 33,000 students enrolled, and there are 30,000 who've requested this program to use at home. So that's 63,000 on the way to 100,000.
Wow.
And if we continue, we will have 1.7 million students who've been through this program. And can you make a difference? You better believe you can make a difference. We can change it. It's just a very simple program that God in His goodness gave to a school teacher. She in turn brought it down here to our university. They in turn worked with it to make sure it was appropriate, and then have passed it through to Operation Blessing, and we've got it out in the community. If you're interested, by the way, it's one of those things where we can guarantee 99% of all the students, be they functionally illiterate, be they somehow learning impaired, whatever name you want to give it, Hispanic, Cambodian, Vietnamese, it really doesn't matter. We can teach people to read and write. And if you want to know something about the program, here's the address. And it's Operation Heads Up, CBN, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463. We can help you to read, or if you'd like to help us to read, we're estimating now it costs us about $8 a student. So 12 students for $96. You can teach 12 people to read and bring, somehow lift them out of that cycle of poverty and despair. It's very exciting. You can participate. We'll be back with a look at Phil Donahue and the human animal, which is running, I believe, this week and drawing huge ratings on national television. More right after this.
Gathering in this room for one reason, they all want to learn how to read. 60% of the people in America's prisons can't read or write. These are people who, out of desperation, turn to crime. CBN's Heads Up program is giving them a second chance by teaching them how to read. Heads Up is a phenomenal success. It's reaching into our prisons and changing lives there. It's reaching into inner city areas and giving young people there a chance to win at life. With your help, things are changing for the better.
Well, what do you think? I love the job.
Heads Up is just one of the ways you reach out to help others.
With music. Stay with us.
Meets
is the energy.